With the COVID having an impact on our economy, clearly there will be a downward impact on the economy. The question is, how bad will it be? Now, if you look at the best case scenario that there is maximum a month and a half of impact, that's about 10% of the entire year gone, which in a global scale would mean that out of the $90 trillion economy that we roughly have, about $9 trillion of that economy will get impacted. On a national basis, that's about 10% down, would imply that we would see a downward pressure of at least 5 to 6%, assuming that the economy was going and running at half the rate that it was in that month and a half, which means that roughly about 4.5% of negative growth that will happen, which means that we'll be left with about 1.5% of total positive growth, assuming that we would have been at a 6% growth rate under normal circumstances, which is where you will see the predictions are that most of the world will be in a recession, in a negative growth, whereas India and China won't be, because roughly we will have a minus 4.5% pressure on our growth, which was going on at a roughly 5.5 to 6%. Having said that, there may be a deeper impact than just the 4.5% of negative impact that we're talking about. The deeper impact is that when a large number of people eventually get infected, and not possibly in this 1.5 months of lockdown and after lockdown effect, but eventually when more people start getting infection, there will be an impact on productive man hours getting impacted, which would then translate to a downward pressure on the economy for the rest of the year as the virus effect starts getting petered out, and it impacts a large number of people and then starts getting petered out. And that's a larger challenge that we have to face. Also, what we'll see is a fundamental change and a structural change in the way we work, not necessarily in the economic structure, but in the way that we work. Clearly, people have seen that it's possible to operate out of home and remotely and through extreme automation using productivity tools like video conferencing and so on and so forth. Similarly, households have seen a possibility of able to operate without having extra help coming in, which means that they'll be more amenable to automation at home, which such as automatic vacuums, robotic vacuum cleaners, and so on and so forth. Which means that we will actually see a acceleration of extreme automation both at work and at home, leading to further job loss in this economy, especially because we do not have the kind of skilled manpower that is there in other economies. A large number of our people are not just not having primary education, but they are also illiterate, which means that once the structural change happens in the way we operate, there will be an economic structure where there will be less number of jobs required because of the automation that will take place. And that will also lead to a significant impact on the economy, because the maximum economic multiplier lies at the bottom of the pyramid, because they end up spending whatever they get in their hand. And if they are out of jobs, it will have an impact on the demand in the economy. Moving forward, what we also believe will happen is many small companies will go belly up, many medium, small and micro enterprise will go belly up, many startups will go belly up, which will have an impact on the financial institutions that are there. As it is, we were not doing very well from a financial institutions perspective in this country. They had just been infused with capital by the government directly or indirectly. And just when there were green shoots coming up, we had the virus hitting the economy. Now, financials is the lifeblood of any economy. And if the MSMEs going belly up has an impact on the NBFCs and the banks, then we would again need to start recapitalizing the banks and possibly somehow recapitalize the NBFCs also, which is a significantly uphill task, because to begin with, at the beginning of this year, the government faced a situation of reduced fiscal headspace, and they did not have the wherewithal needed to be able to infuse the large amount of funds that is needed. Imagine 10% of your income vanishing, and that's exactly what's happening in our economy, where 10% of the economy is kind of under impact because of coronavirus, because for a month and a half, the economy has not been able to work. So how does the government really help recapitalize the banks and help the MSMEs come back and start operating again? The other impact of the MSME is going belly up with the fact that they are the largest job creators in this country. So there'll be many more jobs that will get impacted because of the MSMEs going belly up, and the startups ecosystem will also be significantly impacted. Now, God forbidding, if this virus penetrates to our rural areas, which is what happened in the 1918 Spanish flu outbreak, it will have a deep impact on our ability to have agricultural production. If the labor in the rural areas get infected, it will take quite some time for them to be able to go back and really be engaged in agricultural production, which will then reflect back on our ability to actually feed the 1.3 billion population. So it does seem very challenging times as we move forward. The silver lining for India especially is the fact that we are actually a very young country. The demographics are for us, which means that statistically speaking, there will be less people getting impacted in India, and the demand will continue to be on the upsurge just because of the fact that we are a young country. Along with it, if we get the right kind of policies coming in from the state governments and the central governments, we do hope that there may be a good chance that we are able to come back to a high growth trajectory quick enough. But these will be very challenging times as we move forward.